If you're thinking about starting your own service business, particularly one where you have office space, employees, supplies, shelving, computers, and all these other things, then you're probably going to run into something called a cash flow problem. As it turns out, all businesses need money to run. If this is your first time here, I am Ken. This is my brother James. We are known as the Security Bros. So this cash flow thing, would you agree we need to get this thing solved right here, right now?
Right now. Typically, you got to pay stuff out before you get paid. Like employees, they like to get paid. Maybe you didn't get paid, but your employee wants to get paid.
Yes.
So you got like things like payroll, vehicle. I mean, you did a list in the beginning of this video, but I got my own list. Payroll, vehicle, gas, software subscriptions, permits, etc. So
serpentine belts.
Serpentine belts. So there's all these things that you got to pay out, and whether or not your customers pay you, you still got to pay these things. Without that cash coming in, you're gonna run into problems.
Right, because your owables remain the same. You owe all those things.
Your owables.
Your owables. So I just invented this word.
People are gonna be like, "What is this?"
Right.
Yeah.
And you might not be getting all your receivables that you're owed,
right?
But you still owe things.
So you're talking about your accounts payables.
Correcto.
Okay. So there's all the operating expenses that are going to require money, and to pay for those, you can either use your cash flow or you can go and get an investment loan of some sort. In which case, you're still obviously going to have to pay for that too, right? Which means you still need the cash flow.
So if you're going to get a loan, you're going to pay around 10%.
Okay.
I noticed lately it's gone up to more like 12%.
So the same amount of money is going to cost you more.
Right. If your profit margin is around 15%, for the average small business, profit margin is around 15%.
So that means you're only making 5% profit?
Right. So you are only a 15% net profit margin when it's all done. And then you go and you take out a loan, and now you have to pay that back with 10 to 12%, you might only be left with like 3 to 5% when you're done. Can your business operate on such a low profit
That's really low.
margin?
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of times you take out those loans or you take out those credit terms because you are having a cash flow problem, which means that you're already struggling to begin with, which is why you needed the loan, which is why you're hurting doubly, especially if you're taking it out because you haven't been paid for something yet, and if the customer still doesn't pay you,
it's like
it's a compounding issue, which is why when people say, oh, why don't you just get, if you're having troubles with money, why don't you just get like a line of credit? In some ways, you're better off with a line of credit after you fix some other aspect of your business, which is probably having better clients that pay you higher rates. That for us has done wonders for our business. As I always say, I look for people that have more money than they have time. And the reason they have more money than time is because they're already existing all their time doing things, building their own business, which has made them a lot of money. And so now their issue isn't money, their issue is time. And since we charge money, well, that's all good for them because that's the one thing they have. If we charge time, that's the one thing they don't have. So they're happy to spend money. Great. And so they say, if we can spend money to you so that you take care of stuff that saves us time, that's a really great relationship. So I look for those people as clients. And then they pay us money and we can charge higher rates now because we have better customers. So higher rates to better customers who like to pay their bills, as opposed to the cheaper clients that don't have much money and a lot of times opt to not pay their bills because they're already struggling, which means that when they finally do pay their bill, if at all, it's at a lower rate. So you get this compounding benefit by having clients that are better and pay more money and actually pay on time, in which case you actually don't need the line of credit or the loan. Now, not all businesses are like this. This is actually one of the nice things about a service business is that if you structure it right and you get the right clients, a lot of times you don't need those lines of credit because you get paid for your stuff sooner, maybe within 30 days. So you can do a lot of stuff on a credit card. And as long as you're getting paid within 30 days, well, then you're golden. If you're getting paid more money, so you're getting paid you're probably making a higher profit margin, which means you can then afford the percentage you have to pay, the interest,
Right.
on a line of credit or on a loan, which means that those then become options if you need them, which you usually don't. But if you needed it to grow in some way because you wanted to do some expansion, but that's when I'm more a fan of using a loan, is if like with us, if we're using it to do something in a growth, or because we're working on a particularly large project that will pay for the loan, as opposed to taking it out because we have a cash flow issue.
I was going to ask about that. So you recommend using a loan for like some sort of growth potential, not so much use a loan if you're trying to cover cash flow issues from customers not paying their bills.
Yeah, which sometimes you need it for that.
Right.
But then you put yourself in the worst position.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice,
Right.
But that's very bad
very
versus potentially very good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there was ways that we solved our cash flow issue, charging deposits. So getting, money for the project up front.
Yeah, we didn't used to charge anything up front,
Right.
which is crazy because nobody in our line of work does that. And then we charged some money up front, and then eventually we charged more up front and more up front and more. And the thing is that the more you charge up front, the less likely the person is to want to sign for approve the project, which is great because the people who aren't planning to pay you for the project, they don't want to pay that much of a deposit.
Right. Well, that's a big issue. So you have material that you have to invest in, like parts that you have to invest in, so like cameras to go into the customer site. So if you don't charge anything up front, we're paying for all the cameras, we're paying for the labor, and sometimes people just don't want to pay because sometimes people are little scoundrels.
That's part of it. It's not even just about the project, because you think about everything it costs just to run the business. And the goal is to get paid up front for everything you need to run your business, for your office, your workers, and yes, of course, for things for the project. And by charging more up front for the project, which, let's face it, that's the money that you use to run your whole business, by getting more of that money up front, we now have it to pay for bills that we have now, for the office lease that we have now, for the utilities we pay now. And so we pay for everything sooner instead of us having to pay all of our vendors now, but getting paid for all of our stuff later. We actually now have some of that money at least to pay now. And we've gotten it up to where we charge a 2/3 deposit. It's kind of high on the deposit side, but it actually puts us in a much better position so we can pay bills now, which means we don't need these loans to get by. The other thing that we've done, which has been really helpful, is to have jobs that don't take as long to do. We used to do a lot more, I would say, with construction. We still do them, but the problem with construction jobs is that even if you charge 2/3 now and you're still waiting for your 1/3, that could be years in the future.
Literally.
By having jobs that are not construction, they could be the same size job. I mean, they could be worth 2 or 3 times the amount of the construction job.
Yeah,
we could have,
sometimes they're worth even more.
right. We can, because a lot of what makes a construction job take time is the waiting. It's not our time on site is taking years. It's that we go do our thing for like a week, and then we have to wait 6 months to go do the rest of our thing for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we have to wait another couple years, and then we get paid. And then sometimes you get to the end of that, and then you find out the customer isn't planning to pay anyway, which is where we are right now with some other construction projects. Doing jobs where we can just start them, do them all the way to finish, and then be done, and then bill them. We end up with a much smaller gap in our cash flow cycle, which then goes back to what I was saying with being able to put things on like a credit card, where as long as you pay it off every month, you aren't incurring any interest, and it gives you an ability to delay payment for a month.
There's a lot of product you buy before you get it. So if you go buy groceries, you have to pay for them before you can have. If you go buy gas, you pay for it before you can use it. But for some reason, a lot of these service-based type stuff, or the jobs that we do, is generally just frowned upon. You can't just be like, your bill is 50 grand and you got to pay it before we show up. Why can't you just charge, we have a product and a thing, why can't we do it?
I would rather do it that way if it was legal. The government is limited how much, in the US, is limited how much contractors can charge for that. But they're totally fine with Amazon charging up front or Home Depot charging up front, but they they don't let small contractors charge everything up front.
So
let them get screwed
the
over.
theory behind it being that it's supposed to offer some like consumer protection because the contractor might not provide all the service.
The bigger risk, even if you paid them nothing up front, the contractor can come in until they fuck up your building and then dip out, and then you're left with a huge bill trying to fix the plumbing and the electrical that they busted up.
They're doing that whole thing. We talked about this in other videos where you don't want to mess it up for everybody. You solve the problem for the majority, not the singular event. So they're trying to go with a broader stroke and say, you know, everyone has to do it this way instead of just going after the bad contractors.
If you look at who construction companies hire, so typically if you have a bunch of money and you want to invest it, you say, I'm going to buy this piece of property and I want to develop it. And so you're going to talk to a construction company that will go out and get quotes from all of like the electricians, the security companies, the plumbers, everybody that's involved. They pull the quotes, they manage the whole job from start to finish to make sure that it all gets built. Okay, those companies prefer to work with contractors that have a great reputation, that have been around a while, if they can manage it. They're very suspicious about working with brand new contractors because, like I said, you can come in and you can completely mess it up for a lot more than the contract is worth. What's really worth something is working with proven contractors that do the job they say they're going to do. But it doesn't make sense for the government to say, you guys can't charge for your service up front, but Amazon can. Because guess what? Amazon can also take your money up front and then choose not to deliver the product.
I'm also, as a consumer, I like to be able to pay. I'm fine with paying the majority, but I kind of like it when there's like a little bit at the end to pay because it kind of keeps everybody honest. They get their money that they need to start the project, and then it keeps everyone honest, so they're still a little interested in actually sticking around at the end if I have any discrepancies with it.
If you prefer it that way, there's probably other people who prefer it that way, which means that it actually provides an opportunity for contractors who want to get you or other people like you as a client.
To remind you, we're talking about cash flow being king for your business. It gives you leverage that when, say, product is on sale, you can stock up. A little side bonus, the more cash you have, the less stress you'll have.
What amazes me is how many people have such a high tolerance for cash flow stress. Meaning,
tell me more.
Their business starts to do a little better, and they right away take the money out and put it into their own salary as the entrepreneur. And then
this is an option?
And then they still have this cash flow stress.
Right.
Instead of putting it back in their business or using it as leverage to go get a better client or any of the other things we've mentioned to tweak their business so that they don't have this problem anymore, they just take the money, which keeps them stuck in that same rut. And like their lifestyle increases, but the stress of the business is the same. Some people can do that. I have a harder time with that. I would rather put it into the business so that I reduce stress. Because to me, there's a certain kind of freedom that comes from having less stress in my life. I will take on stress if it's required to get what I want. But if it's not, then good Lord, I'm trying to reduce it. And if you like to reduce it, why don't you go ahead give us a thumbs up so we know, and also share it so your friends know.
Bye. Why are they trying to reduce it?
I don't know.
Do they want to reduce it?
You want to reduce
Do they want to recycle it?